It does.
All right, folks, welcome back to the High Vibe Love Tribe for another
Dancing
round.
Light, we don't know her name yet. Transformative. All the brainstorming.
Love it. Somebody wrote the Light Work podcast. I thought that was great. Anyway, so what's happening, everybody? My name is Charlie. I'm Alohi Acupuncture, Alohi Earth Medicine here in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Well, I have some kind of exciting stuff that, I think is inspiring and can help people get perspective in. Is it okay if I just jump in with
Do it. Just announce who you are.
Yeah. Okay. So Dr. Lauren Pichard with Ascension Psychology.
Right.
And I've had a theme, as a therapist, we have themes emerge, and sometimes it's like all on the same day. Sometimes it's like spread out through the week. And I'm not like a huge astrology person, but we could say it lines up with Mercury being retrograde and it being more about going inside and getting things out. But I've had quite a few people be so frustrated that what they're trying to manifest isn't working. Right? They're like, it isn't here yet. It hasn't arrived. But meanwhile, from me knowing them well, I know that their whole insides are undergoing transformation. And just because they haven't seen the physical results doesn't mean it's not happening, doesn't mean that it's not birthing in the ethers, right? And so just, I've been reminding people that if you get pregnant, it takes 9 months to make a baby. So when we manifest something, it sometimes takes time to form. And I think one place that people self-sabotage is when they're like, I'm not in my mansion yet. And then they get frustrated. And then that completely collapses the manifestation that they're working on because they're believing the form that they're seeing instead of, just kind of like ego identification, instead of identifying with spirit and that it's all coming.
I think that's a really interesting point of view and topic that you brought up. And I'm Dr. Heidi, and I am an intuitive chiropractor, energy person, worker. Something that I almost on the same line, something that came up this past week was something similar with clients wanting to be in that place that they're not already. But one of the things I noticed in addition to that was there is this shift of energy that's starting to happen, and this negative energy, this dark energy, all of this stuff is starting to purge. And there's this transition of the light and dark. And I noticed that a lot of people were starting to fall into these self-sabotaging patterns. They're starting to get deeper into the deeper vibration of that dark energy and not choosing to be in alignment with really where they wanted to go. Like I love when Greg Braden talks about connecting into the heart energy, right? The heart and mind energy, and really getting that heart to resonate. So it comes out, like people get so stuck in these journey. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to this. And really none of it actually matters, and really tuning back in. And I know this week that I was doing a bunch of connecting into what is going on collectively. And one of the things I saw in my meditation, and this might, depending on how weird people want to get, I actually saw a cracking in the dimensions opening up. And it really reminded me of Christianity's, I don't know religion well, but it was like the hell version where all these people go into hell and they're stuck there. And it almost felt like there was this cracking in the matrix where the things that haven't been allowed to come out are coming out. And I found myself being latched on, and things were latching on to me. And not only was my awareness of it increasing, but the things that was being latched onto me were increasing, and their viciousness of latching into the energy. And what I found, because I felt like I almost like lost myself this week, and I found that tuning back in, and like you talked about, Lauren, it's not about, wanting things now, it's about the frequency that you're in that moment of things that you want to attract. And I found that with the week's energy, it was coming back to that heart energy. And it was like, everything was beautiful. Everything was magical. Everything was incredible. And just being so in heart gratitude that it was like, all of a sudden, it literally reminded me of, Harry Potter, when all those like black things are floating and then they blast that spell and it's like, I felt that this week. And it was connecting back into the heart, because really none of this stuff matters. It's that feeling. You know, we keep wanting things because we want that feeling, not the thing. We want the feeling that we think the thing brings. And all this dark energy this past week was so much coming back to that reminder that to truly clear, I mean, all these things clearing, all these things we want to align with, it was connecting back into that heart energy. So it's interesting what you were tuning into and then what I was picking up, you know, we're very similar this week. So I just think it's, you know, such an interesting place and time right now.
Yeah, I have just one more piece to build off of that. And that is just kind of like a metaphor for perspective for everybody that's in the ascension process. And it was actually, I don't know, maybe even Easter Mass at Awaken Church, which I love. And they have, you know, online, you can catch them and stuff. But they said, do you really think that Lucifer didn't throw every evil thing it had at Jesus when Jesus was resurrecting? Do you really think that there weren't thousands and millions of demons coming after him trying to stop him? Right. So some people, you know, like kind of get, you know, attacked or whatever. And it's because they don't want you to hit the next level. Right. It's there. So, you know, but we're unstoppable. Right. That you light a match, all the darkness disperses. And so it's really staying in tune with that truth of us.
Good one.
So lovely. I'm Patricia Keeler, and I am a somatic therapist. I do a lot of inner child work with people. I call myself an inner child advocate. And I used to work with children as an educator, teaching elementary school. So I love this new role of working with kids in this way and advocating for at the heart of us is, I feel like a whole crew of inner children. The thing about the, you know, the heart work that is so obvious to me right now is I feel like we are on this grand collective journey coming into the heart. And people always say, yeah, you know, the heart versus the head, or everybody, you know, has to get on board. And it's true. But I think overall, we're arriving more and more in the wisdom of the heart. And this idea of self-sabotage is interesting because I see that we often stumble. It's like that thing, we fall in that same hole again, and there we are, or we choose again the thing that seems like it's not really supporting where we want to go. But the way that I look at it, and I have seen this over the past couple of weeks, is if we fall in that hole again, there's still more for us to learn there. I don't think it's just like a wrong turn or anything like that. I do think that there is a point, this is my belief, and I may be, I don't know, in a different sort of way of looking at this, but I do think there does come a point when we are less and less and less likely to fall in those holes. So I think by the time Jesus resurrected, I think he was not falling in a lot of holes. But when he had his time in the desert with facing Satan directly, and I think that's what we do, and we're not, you know, quite as set up for success as he is, and yet we are. But we go through these things again and again, and we're like, oh, here I am again in this hole. And the thing that I noticed this week is that the messages of the heart are getting less and less willing to be suppressed. I feel like Spirit's just turning up the dial on the heart messages. And of course, I love it because the facade, and I don't know if this is a little bit related to what you were talking about, Heidi, but I feel like there's this facade that people have, and I'm seeing that cracking like day by day in people, that and people are changing, like people, clients and even friends, and people are changing so rapidly. So hold on, everybody, things are moving very fast, but it's all leading, I think, really into that beautiful wisdom of the heart's energy.
You know, you guys inspired me on a name, Light Heart, Light Work. I like how it was put in two different things. So like the Light Heart, Light Work podcast. I don't know, throwing it out there.
We're trying to figure out our podcast.
Or heart, light work.
By the way, this is the week. Mercury's going direct, October 2nd. This is the week.
Ask people, anybody watching, what did that sound like to you?
Good. I love it.
Good one. So yeah, so I'm gonna jump on board with that. My name's Charlie, and I think Lauren, what I heard in that story, and I think everyone's talking about the same thing, is we forget that life is about living. Like we think we want to get somewhere, and of course we want more ease, we want more wealth, we want more power, we want more peace, we want all the things. But it's just like a process. And like, so what I've been coming to this week, and I've been talking about this with my friends and people I work with, is like life is just supposed to be lived. Like there's no place to get to, right? There's an idea that there's a place to get to. We all have goals, and that's fine, but like there literally kind of isn't a place to get to. There is in your soul's journey, there is in your personal growth, but really we put so much pressure on ourselves as humans, and we're really just supposed to live it, you know? So what I keep telling people this week is, oh, great. Are you having fun? And how much fun are you having? And that's great that you're doing that. Are you having fun? Because you know what? None of this means anything if you're not having fun. No one gets out of this alive. That's it. None of us get out of this alive.
I tell my clients, I was like, I mean, you're here. You might as well enjoy it,
Right?
Guaranteed change, and guaranteed an ending. So, well, ending is whatever, transforming into something else. But
Well,
you're here.
and my experience is when we are in the fun of things, as we are taking any path, if we're going down this path, I pay attention the whole time. If I take a step in a new direction with a journey, with some, I don't know, course of study or even new friendships or whatever, I want to be feeling good with each step I take on that path. And if I'm not feeling good on that step, for me, and this is part of my work as a somatic therapist, like whatever happens in the first 5 minutes of a session, I'm like, this is a theme for this session. Clients late, I'm like, okay, something's up with whatever it is. It's like, there's meaning in all of it, and all of it ultimately has no meaning also, but it's that journey to getting to the more and more authentic truth. And the fun, Charlie, I think is a good gauge for me. Like, are we on the right track? And the curiosity as we're taking those steps, like, does this feel in that flow of, I don't know, like we feel good when things feel good. It's like, that's one of my favorite lines, is like, I care about the way I feel. Most people go, oh, well, isn't that nice? I'm like, well, it's basically my major guidance system.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, just on that point, like caring how you feel and how do you feel. One of the things I noticed this past, I mean, I could say it was a couple weeks. It's been like the last couple weeks have been pretty crazy. And what I've even started noticing in clarity is there's this agitation buzz that my system is starting to pick up. And I can tell when I'm being pulled on. And I have a couple clients that have been huge boundary opportunities that have been happening because wasn't being clear on my work and started bringing in things that just weren't in alignment. And I could feel the agitation buzz in my field when I was starting to get pulled on by these lack of boundaries with these other people. And it was so clear. And it wasn't, I think before I would just attain it to, oh, I have anxiety, or I'm, my nervous system is just fried from whatever CARP PTSD I dealt with for the last couple of years, and all these different things. But it was so clear these past couple of weeks of like, oh, that buzz that is just like shaking. And as soon as I cleared it, I was like, good as new. And it was just like spot on. And I've had so much, I mean, I'm talking about having to clear things and get clear with what you're feeling, because if you don't have clarity in what you're feeling, it's like I talk with my clients often about what it is that you're actually feeling. Is that an actual feeling? And I have clients who go, I was like, no, that's not a feeling. My shaman teachers say, that's not a feeling. That's a sensation, because I would do all this body stuff, and so I have clients, I'm like, that's not a feeling, right? That's an action doing, like do all these descriptions on what it's feeling. So it's, obviously the work you do is so clear that you are so clear on what you're actually feeling. And I think a lot of people really have an opportunity to get clear on what do they actually feel. And is it a feeling? Like I actually had to look up definitions. What is a feeling?
It's so good because people say all the time, I feel like,
Yeah.
I'll ask them, how do you feel? I feel like, and then they say a thought.
Yeah.
That's clearly not a feeling.
Yeah.
I think so
Yeah.
many people are not really in the simplicity of
Yeah.
the
It's
purity of
like,
those feelings.
yeah. Or I get clients say, oh, I feel like I need to do this. And I'm like, that's a doing. That's not a feeling.
You know, there was one patient at the Betty Ford Center who I would let slide whenever it came up because it was so funny. But we would check in with feelings, right? Because lots of times alcoholic addicts are not in touch with their feelings. I'd say it's a big problem actually on America because people are numbing stuff, whether it's through shopping or sex or psych meds. And so many, and that stops personal growth, soul evolution, right? You're literally numbing it and it's like keeping yourself trapped. But anyway, when we would say, how are you? It was this gay gentleman and he would check in and say, I feel fat. Totally let it pass as an emotion because I was like, I get that emotion. I feel fat. You know, it's so funny.
That's awesome. I love that this is coming up because I think actually this would be a really helpful teaching moment because I think like as a sensitive being, and I think what we're doing here is we're helping sensitive people get more in touch with how to thrive in a crazy world when you're a sensitive, powerful being, right? Like, can we all talk a little bit about that? Like, what is the difference? Like, how do we help people know when they're getting pulled on? Like, Heidi, when you bring that up, it's like when you're getting pulled on, like, you're able to be like, oh, something or someone is pulling on my energy. But how do we help sensitive people know the difference between their true self and the bombardment of the chaos around us? Lauren, what do you think about that?
I think a lot of things. I mean, when I was meditating today, I noticed that I had an irritating thing, and a lot of it was extra noise. And some of it, and I haven't actually deciphered what it is. And I'm not sure if I just had too much yerba mate, and even though I didn't feel like caffeinated, maybe it was too much caffeine. Over the weekend, so many people in my space were so ungrounded and irritable that I'm not sure if like I just needed to clean out my energy field from them. But when I was in touch with my core essence, or you know, sometimes clients are like, I was like, what would Dr. Lauren do? And I was channeling your energy. And then I was eating all these Reese's Pieces. I was like, yeah, I'm not, don't channel me, you will be eating Reese's Pieces, right? Or whatever. But you know, or is it something kind of like what Heidi said? And I was just meditating and sending the sensation light to kind of, because the light would just break it up, kind of a thing to clear it out of my space. But EMFs are another thing that can kind of create that light agitation. So it also kind of made me more wanting to follow up on what kind of EMF device would be a good device to have in my house, because I'm working on the computer and on the phone constantly.
That's a good point. Yeah, actually, I think we all are so exposed, right? And thinking, Charlie, your question about if somebody's pulling on us, you know, this is something in my somatic therapy training was a really interesting exercise we did one time, where the difference between like if somebody's pulling on us or holding on to us even, and versus, you know, if somebody, sometimes we as a culture, we say to people, oh, you got to let go of that, right? But oftentimes there's a real somatic difference if we are holding on to something, and oftentimes that's not what it is. Oftentimes other things are holding us or pulling us, right? And so like somatically, the soul is so crafty. Once a client can feel the difference between, oh, they say, oh, I'm not doing the holding. Something's holding me, something's trapping me, something's pulling on me, right? And then we just have this spaciousness around it with bringing all sorts of curiosity about, yeah, what's that like? What does that feel like? You know, where do you feel that in your body? What images come up with that? Does it have like a flavor of a color for you? All these things, right? The soul speaks in such cryptic language. And then invariably there's some, I don't know, it's like I'm not even doing the doing. I feel like spirit is doing the doing. There's some crafty escape plan that it's almost like in a trance state as I work with clients, but there's something that happens that gets that client out of the pull. and just brings that like whole expanse into their system, because you could also feel it when you've gotten out of that energy of being pulled on. Or on the flip side, if they're holding on to something, just to explore that too, because I think a lot of times we do as babies, like you watch a baby, like even a toddler learning to walk, and they're walking like this. We're wired to hold on to things. This is basic attachment stuff. So all of us, I think, hold on to things oftentimes for like way beyond the period of usefulness to us. So this is also another somatic practice, is letting go of things that aren't working for us anymore.
Well, and in that topic, I mean, if something's holding, like I noticed for me, it was like, okay, what is too open in me? What is my wound? What do I need to look at? Where do I need to go in? And what boundaries, so it's like, and then, it's like, I tried to meditate, and every technique I could think of, and it was like, that didn't work. So then I started writing and putting stuff. So it was like, one of the things I learned with energy is when energy is in the right connection, it just flows. But if you're trying something and it's just like not working, it's not what you're supposed to be doing. And even in my world in chiropractic, when we work with the sacred geometry and the frequency and the tone, like when we're moving into the field, when it's connected, it just goes like ease. So I notice when I'm trying to clear all this stuff off me or check in with where I'm feeling or what's, like what is my avenue in, and I'll play with everything I can think of. And then when I hit the right one, it's like the sweet spot. It just clicks and it clears. So I think people often get frustrated where they have like these couple tools and they try to jam everything into these tools that they have. And if it doesn't work, then they get frustrated. It's like almost coming back to what Lauren talked about. It's like they want this thing to happen, and I can tell you, I have spent many of hours in meditation, like trying coming here. And sometimes I like, oh yeah, Charlie said do this one thing and slam it into the ground and cover it up with dirt. It was like, I mean, I made stuff up that just, and when you hit the right button, it's like, boom. And I know that for me, it's something in me, if I'm getting, latched into, and at the same thing, if I'm getting that clear that I'm getting latched into, I'm also getting clearer that I'm noticing it, because when I wasn't clear, I didn't notice it. So I think often we look at it going, oh, there's something wrong with me. I keep collecting shit, this and that and this and that. And it's actually like, no, you're healing. And that's why you're aware of this, and I think it's amazing. And I think we forget to look at it that way, because everything is an opportunity, even the discomfort, even the agitation, so I just continuing having that approach and that spin of, yes, you may be picking up stuff. Yes, you may be feeling, yes, you may not be feeling, whatever it is, it's all this beautiful thing that we continue evolving. And the more, like, talk about sensitivity, like that's your superpower. I mean, it really is. It's an incredible gift to have the courage. And I love the word courage, because we think of courage and bravery and, like I'm courageous. And it's like, actually courage is your ability to have an authentic heart, like that's courage, which is why I love that word so much. So it is really interesting on how we can approach and look at all these different topics.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything we're talking about is totally what I was dealing with this weekend. Same as everyone, and Lauren, same as you. Like, basically, I have gotten to a point, like, 48 years of cultivation. I know how to make this vessel good, but then when I'm interacting in the world, it can be nutty, especially like the world is so nutty right now. Like let's just affirm that how nutty the world is, right? So I'm in my little cave. I'm like, I'm cool. I go out there and I'm like, whoa, did you feel that? Like we've all had the conversation, like, wow, have you guys been out there? Like, what's going on? But I even had it in my circle this weekend, like with some friends, and they were like, they're going through some stuff, and I was hanging out with them, and I was like, oh my God, like throat chakra, this, that, and the other. And I was like 3 hours later, I was like totally off my rocker. And I was like, what just happened? Right. But it was like, dude, what happened was people are dealing with a level of chaos that I'm actually not, I just want to say, I'm not interested in dealing with anymore. I'm just not. I know what peace feels like. I want to be in peace. There's levels of chaos that I used to deal with that I'm not interested in anymore. So there was that. But also, Heidi, what you were saying earlier is there's that other piece of what part of me needed to be like, oh, okay, so I don't want to deal with that chaos, and that's cool. That's awesome. And something in me needed to come out and say something, right? Like, so I'm still actually dealing with that piece of it, but I don't know. I'm still working on that piece, but it's like you're saying, there is a piece in there that's literally just for me that I need to learn or do or grow or something like that. But
And, I wonder, Charlie, also if you might talk about, because I think all of us are pretty skilled at getting grounded or getting actually back into our own heart space, our own body, right? That journey of embodiment, like when we get thrown, which life is going to throw us. Life is going to throw us into all of these kinds of situations for our own joyful learning. There's this idea in the course that's like, there's an invitation to be a happy learner, no matter what life throws at you. So that's one of my mantras, like, I'm a happy learner, like something comes at me, I'm like, I'm a happy learner. So when we get thrown, because life is giving us this invitation to learn something, like you had over the weekend with your circle, Charlie, I don't know, I just had that thought, like, what are some of your tools for coming back to self? I'm not
yeah,
trying to put you on the spot, because I think all of us are experts at it, really.
I mean, my first thing was to fucking check out and be like, yeah, okay, love you. See you later. Go
Mhm.
hang out with my fucking self.
My bandwidth is full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So good. Yeah. And, one of the things I do is also, it's the simple things like breathing, people, it's so underestimated. I mean, so undervalued until you get it, until you get the value of breathing as a resource. It feels like, why would people tell me to breathe? I'm breathing all the time.
Yeah.
But it's different kind of like restorative breathing, really, with that beautiful result of bringing you back home into the body.
I was thinking about the breath when you were talking about holding on, because another way people hold on is they stop breathing, right?
Stop breathing, right?
So if we're in fight, flight, or freeze, we aren't breathing. And so one of the best things we can do for our nervous system is to take those deep belly breaths, right? Yogis have been talking about that forever. If you're moving faster than you can pay attention to your breath, you're moving too fast and you're creating extra stress. I think America encourages that, right? I think that might be one of the biggest things of the transformation is walking away from the hustle. Nobody wants to be in the hustle anymore.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, when you guys are talking about that, like what I noticed is the people like I was engaging with is like, I've gotten so used to having this vessel be open and letting go and like being flowing. And then you're around people who the thing is most people don't consciously know that they're wound like this, but I know it because I'm like, whoa, right? But like, when you say that, Lauren, it's like, I agree with you and I agree with you too, Patricia. And it's like, but they don't fucking know it. And that's where it's like, go ahead.
Heidi was just talking about the awareness. That's
Mhm.
what we've been cultivating for many years, right? And that was a beautiful point, Heidi, because awareness is a huge deal. So Charlie, what you sounds like we're face to face with people that just didn't have that awareness of their own, not breathing or whatever form it took.
Yeah. So what it comes down to, I think, is that when I look at the four of us here, I mean, we're here because we all value peace.
Well,
We
and I
all
think,
value feeling good.
I think I can almost speak for all of us when it says it was a commitment. It's a commitment to be aware. It isn't just something that happens, and it's a commitment. I mean, I know for me, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week in the moment, checking back in, checking back in, checking back in. What are my needs? Where am I going? How am I being? And I have clients, and I've had a couple clients just recently that talk to me about feeling like they don't exist and feeling like they have a disconnection. And it's my sense is it's from years of never staying within alignment with you and checking out and not committing to actually, because it's really not that hard. It's like, you're here, you are. And all you have to do is stop things.
Notice it.
Yeah, just stop for a second and be present with your heartbeat, with your breath. Even if you can't go inside, just feel it here and close your eyes. You're inside. Boom, there you are. And
Yeah.
to me, it's so incredibly amazing that somebody can go through their whole life and come into a place where they don't have the awareness that they are that disempowered with just their own connection. And then this continual looking outside for things. And it's, you know, it is that, like I had this thought the other day, it was talking about commitment and change. Like your level of commitment equals your level of change. And where you want to go and change, like change is going to be happening, but your level of commitment is in alignment with the change you're desiring to create. And commitment, when I was doing my coaching training, we talked about commitment and what that looked like. And I had realized that something that was actually I struggled with was commitment in a way that was continually going. You know, like I could commit to something, boom, exciting, we're out. And then, but it was like this over and over and over and over committing. There were certain things that I struggled with. And when that really clicked, it was like I can look at all the things that I had committed to that had just automatically showed up. Like I've worked out pretty much like every day of my life since I was 15. I have this routine that is just so in there, but that's not commitment. You know, there's things that we just do that are good for us that is not commitment. Commitment is the idea when you don't want to do something and you know it's in your highest good and you making that choice in that moment to take that path. And that's commitment. And it just like the way I was working with doing training with Brandon Burchard, and it was like the way he said it, it was like, oh my gosh, like it was so powerful, that level of commitment. Because you know, I was, oh, commitment, we're committed. And it was like, no, like this is commitment. It was like, oh my gosh, that made so much sense. And I just, you know, I've taken that to heart and really made it a deeper component than I think it usually is given credit to. So I know that all of you have been so deeply committed to your paths, and that's what it takes.
Well,
Absolutely.
the question I have about that, because I like what you're saying, but I think there's a deeper thing to it, is like, why commit? So why, let's start with us. Like, why does, like all four of us, Heidi, why do you commit to your path?
Yeah. Well, and that's a huge piece, right? What is our why?
Mhm.
And what is what empowers us and what is what motivates us? And I notice a lot of people when they talk about, oh, why do they do something? They say, oh, it'll be for something else, for someone else, for it isn't for them. And when I was in chiropractic school, it was this theme that, you know, we're here to give, love, and serve. And I just like, no, I am here for me. I want a world of amazing people because I want to be in it. Right? I want to learn more about healing. I want to feel more in my capacity. And I get these mirrors and inspirations when I work with other people. And in these working with other people, I create a space where there's more amazing people to hang out with. So that's why I do what I do, right? I commit for me because I want to see what my potential is. And that's always been my piece is I want to see what I'm made of. Right?
Awesome.
I think kind of what you're talking about, Heidi, is just kind of like those of us that identify as light workers that are kind of on the planet right now to help with the ascension process by helping get back to our core essence by removing all these patterns and programs that aren't us. I think that drive is just kind of like a natural drive inside of us. And so I think we also came in and we're like, hand me all those patterns and programs, right? It's like my 10th time getting out of this matrix, make it a little bit more challenging this time. And I wanted to build on a couple of things. One of them was when we were talking about people that don't know how to be in touch with themselves. And it's actually fairly common. It's codependency. It's basic codependency. It's attachment styles that are formed in childhood. And one of the great sayings in 12 steps about it is how empty of me to be so full of you. Right. And it's created by our parents are kind of a mess. And so we went to caretake for them so that we could be connected and have a relationship to them. And so we abandoned ourselves because there wasn't room for us. So if they feel invisible, yeah, because your parents were you were invisible, right? And so it's finding these times in the unconscious mind and doing that inner child work that you guys were talking about. Just building again on like what we're committed to. I went to the Self-Realization Fellowship this Sunday. I kind of bounced between Awaken Church and Self-Realization Fellowship, although I meditate daily with Yogananda and those gurus. Yogananda was talking about, or the I don't know what they're called actually, the pastor type person in the temple, whatever they are, the presenter, was talking about how Yogananda taught that our purpose is to loosen the ego and to embody more divine love. And that's what all of it is. So when and I thought it was like, oh, that's so simple, right? So talking about how a lot of devotees like can't spend as much time meditating when they're in service to their family, but being in service is loosening the ego because it's not all about you, and it's also embodying divine love by giving the love to the family members. So if we can like keep those things in focus on everything that we do, I think we can just continue to unfold no matter what our spiritual practice is.
I love that you go to the Self-Realization Center. I used to go to one a long time ago, but so beautiful, beautiful people and beautiful foundation.
Oh,
And the commitment for me, I have to say that I think I looked around from a very early age and I did not agree to the terms and conditions of what I saw out there. I was just like, this is not what I want. Like you, Heidi, there are all of these messages of this and this kind of life. And I was just like, I don't want any of it. I didn't see really models of what I wanted to do in this life. I really didn't from an early age. I didn't at all. And as I got older and got exposed to people through books like Yogananda, or, I got exposed to A Course in Miracles. I got a lot of these things resonated for me deeply, not in the way that I used to have this thing, like, I didn't feel like they were teaching me things. I felt like I finally found some voices that resonate with what I already know inside from a very early age. And so the commitment to this path of the dedicated path, and there's this lovely idea in the Course that your capacity for listening to the still small voice is equal to your willingness to listen. And most people say, I'm really willing to listen, but then you look at their behavior and you can see it's not true. And I think often it's just a readiness. Some people aren't ready. Some people, because sometimes that still small voice may bring something that your ego self is like, oh, I don't want to make that change in my life, But little by little, I think we get ready. We're getting ready to be ready to really listen to that authentic self. So for me, the commitment is, I am so driven by being connected with a voice inside of me that can be pure guidance, and like to just have that confidence of the next steps and the next steps and the next steps is priceless to me. I don't want to do it any other way. So it's a great question.
I really like that, because it's kind of like all of you are saying, it's like the same thing as like that attachment idea. They come in the world, people love babies, like people go ape shit for babies, right? Why? Because they're the perfect human being, right? Innocent, whatever. Well, we come in with like our whole being self, like we're fucking wise as babies, but people don't know that because they're like, oh, they're so beautiful and you can mold them. Well, yeah, okay, cool, but like then we receive all of this, like we want love and we want to give love, and then we get all enmeshed in these people who are so chaotic, and the world right now is so chaotic. So it's like, if we're all these innocent beings, which we always are, and we're all evolving, and we're in this chaotic world, like how do people, and this is the thing, because this is the work, how do people stay in their like power and beauty, and how can you even like reclaim if you got like 40 years of trauma or whatever it is, like how do you reclaim your whole self, your innocent, beautiful, pure self that gets to just enjoy this human experience, right? And then be in this chaotic world and chaotic relationships. And that's the thing, I'm going to be honest, like I'm single and I'm like, of course I'd love a partner. There's so many reasons to have a partner, but at the same time, like, fuck the drama that I see around me. And like, God bless all you people in relationships, because there's like so much play in that intimate relationship. But I'm not in an intimate relationship, but I'm in a lot of relationships, right? And so I have to do a lot of play. And then I come home alone and I go, cool, let me shake all that off and let me learn everything I needed to learn. And let me get back to like the cool thing that's me, right? But what I wish for all humans is that, and I know we all do because we keep talking about it, I wish for all humans that in some space in their life, they get to have that cool thing that is them. And that's the work I'm doing. Okay, I'm an acupuncturist. No, I'm trying to help you. Can I help you find more peace in being the thing that is you in the world more often, right?
That's great.
And that's what we're all doing with. And we're all committed to doing our personal work so that not only so that I can feel more peace and more happiness, but also so I can help other people find more peace and more happiness. And that's what we're all doing.
For world peace, right? I mean, it's big, it starts with us, and then it starts with, the people that we can impact. And then it's really about alleviating suffering from the planet, because it's too much, right? We can look around at the inequalities and it's too much.
Yeah, it's ridiculously hard to be a human. There's no doubt about it.
I love that there was like a joke meme out there about aliens when they pass planet Earth and they like roll up the windows, put on their seatbelts and like accelerate as fast as they can. And I'm like, I think that's the coping skill for planet Earth, right? Roll up the windows, put on your seatbelt and go.
Tripod in.
Right? I mean, it's like a metaphor for boundaries, right? Put up your shields, go.
Yeah, or for me, it's like get to nature. Heidi was saying that she was out in the forest today, and honestly, we got a fucking hurricane coming in Florida. And you know what I did today? I did a bunch of hurricane prep, and then I went to the ocean and swam for an hour because I was like, I'm not going to get this for another week. So it was amazing, like nature.
Yep, I did that too, actually, when I had that agitation. I actually took some Bach flowers for impatience. I love Bach flowers, at BACH, for people that need like a new thing. I took some Bach flowers and went out to the ocean and played Frisbee with my daughter when I picked her up from school.
Very cool.
Yep.
Which box did you take?
The impatience one.
Oh,
It's
okay.
from the impatient flower, and it helps with impatience. It like couldn't be any easier.
Oh, impatience.
Sweet.
And then I took one to help with focus, because I noticed that whatever the energy was in my space is making it more difficult for me to focus. But I'm often involved, I need to call my energy back, because I'm often involved in so many things that focus can be a weak spot anyway for me.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, as having moved out to Idaho, I mean, we drive 5 minutes out of town and it's like nothing but pure mountain. And it's just, I mean, we're hiking up the trail and it was like, oh, that's the animal trail. That's an animal. Oh, and when we got up to the top, closer, we were at the top and just looking down. I mean, I spent 20 years in the Bay Area and you couldn't get away from things. There was no getting away. You could never actually truly take a break. And I didn't know what taking a break was, like truly taking a break and having things just calm. I mean, when I was doing sensory deprivation work to clear the PTSD that I had, like I would go in these tanks and just get like completely clear and clean. But it's like to go out in nature and just have so much space. I mean, can't even tell you. I don't know what people are doing.
That's actually like what I was pretending to do in my meditation, and then doors are slamming and I had earplugs in and I'm still hearing doors slam and I'm hearing motorcycles. I'm like, God, get me out of the city.
Oh yeah.
But it's so good that we have those, because we have the contrast, and ultimately, right, we want to be moving more and more towards not having to have the conditions out there be any way, because it's really all in here. And the capacity for us, or the really, I think the journey of going from first of all, just being able to do it anywhere, right? It's like, my favorite is like lying down on my back with a bolster, like on a yoga mat, and just stretching my heart for an hour, just breathing. That's my favorite thing. But like, if I, I'm in a situation I can't do that, how can I, and I'm in a, right, it's slamming and motorcycles and all that. I think ultimately we all are practicing, cultivating the experience, so we know what it feels like. And that's why, like Charlie, when you had over the weekend, and then when you have the contrast of that, we can notice the difference. That it's that awareness, right? So as we practice more and more in those places where we could do it, nature or in meditation or wherever it is, we can start to really train our body and our mind into what it feels like. We like train our body and mind, train our body and mind, train our body and mind. So there may come that day when we're in the noise of the whole thing and we do it.
Well, and you have a great point, Patricia. I mean, I think people have a hard time knowing when to go out in the middle of nowhere. Like I remember when I was leaving Portland and I was having to stay at my mom's house in Canby, and it was this incredible empty house on the river, and it was wonderful and amazing, and I could decompress. And then all of a sudden the leaf blower would happen because she had gardeners. And it was just like, I mean, I got to a place where I was going through, I had gone through so much insanity, and I could meditate and be completely serene through leaf blowers, multiple. And it was like, so having that flexibility and knowing, okay, today is I go out in the middle of nowhere day.
Yep.
And maybe next week is I can meditate and handle the leaf blowers and I'm good, so knowing it's like, we can't take life in so much like, here's the cookie cutter way of doing it. Like I talk to my husband often about, like, this is not a bullet point, like don't take notes, right? Because what is happening right now isn't going to be what's happening tomorrow. It's going to be completely different. So in the moment, what is the need? Like if your system's fried, go into a place that is supportive of you and give yourself that permission. I think we often need so much permission to just be. It's like I even had my mother-in-law call me about a couple hours ago, and she needed permission to just say no. And it's great because I've been working with her twice a week and getting to coach her and do these things that I do. And I just do all the weird things I do. And it's interesting to work with my very Christian mother-in-law. And it is just, and she's feeling great and things are wonderful. And to get that phone call of like, I just need permission to just be for me. And it was just really interesting to reflect on that. Like, I think sometimes we have come so far that we forget where we've come, where a lot of people are. I mean, even energetically, like I am so in tune and so masterfully connecting to energy world that I forget what it was like when I was struggling. It's almost like it never even existed in a way. And so I think just recently I stopped and really started remembering that path. And, a lot of people are in that like deep struggle. And yeah, it's definitely take the time when the time is needed.
Well, and setting boundaries is such an effective way to get out of that deep struggle, right? Because if you're around chaotic people, your life is going to be chaos, right? That's kind of like the theme of what we've been saying, right? Roll up the windows, hop in the UFO, put on your seatbelt, and get out of there, right? Get out of Dodge. So
Yeah.
just the other thing I wanted to, what I was thinking about when you were talking, the other thing that I'm doing is I'm actually doing a parasite cleanse. And so actually as those buggers die off, that can also create more agitation also, just, for awareness for anybody out there that is doing something like that, right? So there's so many, right? We're so interconnected with everything. There's so many things that can contribute.
Yeah, and it's not just, physical parasites, but energetic parasites, right? When you're coming back to reclaim who you are and you're in this process of detaching from what the world has put all their tendrils on you energetically, it's the same thing as like, yeah, it's an anxiety provoking process, right? I think all of humanity is doing that right now. So I think probably like, let's kind of get towards finishing up, and can we each help people? Like, what is your message for folks right now? Because we're in a super chaotic world, right? So we got like another week of Mercury retrograde, and there's all these other like Uranus and Pluto and all these like deep ancestral planets are pulling on us right now. My understanding of the astrology is that if you think of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, like when she gets like sucked up into Oz, right, and she goes through all these things, and then she comes home finally after all these experiences and realizes like there's no place like home. Well, my understanding of the astrology right now is that we're sucked up into it, and March is when we kind of come out of the chaos and into this like whatever home is for us. So we got a long way to go, and that's only part of the struggle, right? So what do you guys want to offer, people as a tool or an insight to make it through these times?
All right, I've got one. So one of the things that I've noticed people tend to do on this planet is, kind of staying with that hustle, right? Because we've been so taught to kind of grind out. And I think by design, it's so that we don't check inside with ourselves. So I don't know if anyone out there is like an artist, but I know that when I'm doing art, if I'm here with the details and I come back, I'm like, oh, it's all askew, right? So I just say, pop up from the grind and make sure that you're going in a direction that you actually want to go in, right? Because this is your life. And so the goals that you have, are they goals that you still want to have? Do you want to adjust them? Are you finding out that what you're working for isn't actually what you want anymore, right? Like, and so to just check in, to know thyself, because we mature, we change our mind, we think we want something, we find out it's not so awesome. That's my advice. Pop your head up and get broader perspective.
Awesome.
I was going to touch on the same thing. It's like, get to know you. And what are you actually feeling? Is it yours? Is it a cloud of energy you walked into while you're at the grocery store? Is it your mother projecting into your field? Is it your ex-best friend who's feeling their own thing? Like, weed out all of your sensory and get clear on what you're actually feeling. And one of the great little things that you can just say is like, whose is this? And send it back to them with love. Like, who does this belong to? And, ask those questions, because words are energy. So feed through all your feelings and weed yourself out so that you can shine your light through, and do it every day, a couple times a day, especially now.
So good, Heidi. It actually sparks in me this about the light, right? There's this lesson in A Course in Miracles is I am the light of the world. And it's such a beautiful lesson, but it feels like, me? Like, my encouragement to everybody that's on a healing path is to keep going, keep healing, because I do think that every single one of us has that spark of light inside that is the answer to all the questions, and that is the place that we all want to get to. It's every single goal we ever had. It's like just this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful truth inside of us. It's our authentic self. And I think that at the anything that we encounter on our healing journey, and in like the layers and layers and layers of the onion, we do more and more healing. We're just clearing the blocks that are really keeping us out of or away from the truth of who we really are, which is that light inside.
Fantastic. All right, the one I want to offer is nature, aka negative ions. So we all know we should meditate, and we all want to feel better. And I was talking a lot, and I think we were all talking about like, what is it like when you're in that chaos and that stress and whatever? This chaos and the stress are positive ions. So when I find myself out of whack, it's like today I went for a swim for an hour. That healed many things. That took a lot of stress out of my body. So negative ions, you can get negative ions through nature, the ocean, the forest, bare feet on the ground in the backyard, taking a bath, taking a shower, breath work, dancing, the gym, like all of that stuff will create negative ions and actually change your energy field. So that's what I offer. Find the negative ions.
Negative ion scavenger hunt, go.
Negative ions,
See a
go.
thunderstorm over there.
I like the Pokemon app, right?
Totally.
Yeah. I found one. It was a waterfall.
Oh my God.
Awesome. Well, great chat, you guys, today. It was
Yeah.
really powerful.
Super fun.
So great to come together with you all.
Agreed.
Great to connect. I learned a lot. So good to hear how everybody's doing. Look forward to next week.
Yep. See you then.
Okay.
Bye-bye.